Bathurst, the circuit America has never truly faced there, is a road in Australia that has claimed 16 lives, carved into the side of a mountain with concrete walls positioned a hand's width from the racing line. This is Mount Panorama, and it sits inside the town of Bathurst, New South Wales. It is not a purpose-built racetrack in the way American ovals are. It is a public road, used daily by residents, closed only during race events, and patrolled the rest of the year by police enforcing a 60-kilometer-per-hour speed limit. The circuit measures 6.2 kilometers with 174 meters of vertical elevation change between its highest and lowest points and gradients as steep as 1 and 6. On non-race days, ordinary drivers can legally drive both directions around the entire lap, something almost unimaginable at any American oval. The National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, known globally as NASCAR, has built its reputation on a different kind of racing entirely. 500 lap races, 40 cars, door-to-door contact at speeds approaching 200 miles per hour. That format demands its own extreme skill set, closing speeds, drafting, and pack racing that has no equivalent anywhere else in motorsport. Nobody disputes that NASCAR's top drivers are elite. The question this story asks is different. What happens when that same talent is placed on a mountain circuit that was never designed with ovals, drafting, or forgiving walls in mind? The technical differences between the two categories begin with the machines themselves. A NASCAR next-gen car weighs around 3,200 pounds and produces up to 670 horsepower. It runs a sequential 5-speed gearbox, and critically, that gearbox includes automated rev matching. When a driver downshifts, the electronics handle part of the process, allowing both hands to stay on the wheel through oval traffic. The Supercars Gen 3 car used at Bathurst is lighter at roughly 2,940 pounds, powered by a 5-liter V8 producing around 600 horsepower. There is no electronic assistance for downshifting. Drivers must heel and tow manually, meaning the right foot blips the throttle while the heel simultaneously works the brake, dropping 2 gears during a descent on a 1 in 6 gradient. A mistimed blip can cause the rear of the car to lock, and unlike an oval where a spinning car often finds gravel, at Bathurst a mistake frequently ends at a concrete wall. Austin Cindric, the 2022 Daytona 500 winner, tested this contrast directly when he prepared for a Supercars appearance with Tickford Racing ahead of the Adelaide finale. Speaking about the Gen 3 Mustang compared to his NASCAR machine, he said it drives a lot better. Well, it's got more over-body downforce. Even just by looking at the car, it's a lighter car, grippier tire. So all the things it does better. He continued by describing how differently the car behaves under contact with track features, noting, "I've really had to talk myself into using the curb as much as I can with this car. Yeah, it has a bigger effect on the driver, but the car still stays gripped up, whereas if I hit some of these curbs in a cup car, I'd be in the blue tent." Cindric also acknowledged that much of what he expected translated directly, stating, "I think in a lot of ways quite a bit of what I expected. It's good to feel it out and kind of put everything that I've done prep work-wise, have a feel for it, and really put some relevancy behind some of the questions that I may or may not have, work on some of the techniques." That difference in tolerance for contact defines much of what separates the two forms of racing culturally. In NASCAR, using the wall is often a deliberate strategy. The bump and run is a celebrated maneuver, and leaning on a rival's bumper or scrubbing speed against the safer barrier is considered part of normal racecraft. Bathurst offers almost none of that margin. The cutting, a pair of left-hand corners leading into a steep exit, is notoriously difficult to recover from if a car spins, because the narrow space and steep gradient make it nearly impossible to get going again without rolling backward. This same section was the site of a well-known confrontation between drivers Marcos Ambrose and Greg Murphy, who collided during the 2005 Super Cheap Auto 1000 after both refused to give way, partially blocking the circuit. McPhillamy Park presents a different danger entirely. It is a fast, downhill left-hander that is completely blind due to a crest just before the turn-in point, forcing drivers to commit to a corner they cannot see with a concrete wall waiting on the exit. Legendary driver Alan Moffat crashed here during practice for the 1986 James Hardy 1000, striking the wall head-on while sharing the car with rival Peter Brock. Other sections of the circuit carry similarly unforgiving histories. Griffin's Bend, a negatively cambered right-hander, has punished drivers who drift too wide on exit, including David Besnard, who suffered a fiery crash there in 2011 after exiting the pit lane with insufficient front brake pressure on new brakes. Quarry Corner has its own place in Bathurst history, most notably from the 1980 Hardy-Ferodo 1000, when Dick Johnson struck a large rock that had been dislodged from the spectator area, destroying his car while running in the lead. The risks of this terrain are not theoretical or confined to distant history. During qualifying for the 2015 Bathurst 1000, defending champion Chaz Mostert suffered a serious crash after clipping a wall in the Forest elbow section, an accident that resulted in a fractured left femur and a fractured left wrist and ended his season. Officials confirmed that 7 track marshals were involved in the incident, with 2 treated at the Circuit Medical Center and 1 taken to hospital with a chest injury. Team principal Tim Edwards later described Mostert's reaction in the medical center, saying the driver's first words to him were, "Thank God we signed that contract a couple of months ago." Fellow driver Jamie Whincup reflected on the danger inherent to the sport following the crash, stating, "It's never nice seeing an accident like the one Chaz had. It's just a reminder that our sport is dangerous and at the end of the day we are strapped into missiles." This was Mostert's second serious crash at the circuit in 3 years, following an earlier incident at Reed Park during his 2013 Bathurst debut. Forest's elbow itself is one of the more technically demanding sections of the lap, a slow descending left-hander with adverse camber, meaning the road surface tilts against the direction of the turn. It leads directly onto Conrod Straight, the fastest section of the circuit, where supercars have been recorded reaching speeds close to 300 kilometers per hour. This corner has become closely associated with Shane van Gisbergen, a 3-time Supercars champion who approaches it differently than most competitors. Rather than braking early to settle the car before the adverse camber can unsettle it, Van Gisbergen carries the car into the corner with the rear already rotating, feeding in throttle while the car is still sliding, using the camber to accelerate the exit rather than fighting against it. Because Conrod Straight is long, small gains at the exit of corners like this compound significantly by the time a car reaches the end of the straight. That same skill set translated directly when Van Gisbergen moved into NASCAR competition. In July 2023, driving the number 91 Chevrolet for Trackhouse Racing's Project 91 program, he won the Grant Park 220 on the Chicago Street Course in his first Cup Series start, becoming the first driver to win in his NASCAR Cup Series debut since Johnny Rutherford achieved the feat 60 years earlier. Asked afterward whether he believed victory was possible entering his debut, Van Gisbergen said, "No, of course not, but you always dream of it. Thank you so much to the Trackhouse team and Enhance Health Project 91. What an experience in the crowd out here. This was so cool. This is what you dream of. Hopefully, I can come and do more." He also reflected on the strategy that unfolded during the race, noting, "Wow, when we had that back strategy back to 18th, I started to worry a bit, but the racing was really good. Everyone was respectful. It was tough, but a lot of fun." Van Gisbergen has since spoken publicly about how that same skill set would transfer if NASCAR drivers attempted the reverse journey into supercars competition. Discussing Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch specifically, he said, "I would have loved to see how Kyle Busch went last year in the supercar. It would have been very difficult, but I'm sure if he took it seriously, he would have done really well. Hopefully that happens this year." There's talks actually Kyle Larson might go and do it. Yeah, I'd love to help them if they have any questions. I'd be really interested to see how they went. According to reporting from journalist Bob Pockras, Van Gisbergen has also suggested that any driver ranked in the top 10 of the Supercars Championship would be capable of achieving what he accomplished in his own NASCAR debut, underscoring his belief that road course skill built at circuits like Bathurst carries real transferable value. Kyle Larson, the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion and a 31-time Cup race winner, later confirmed his own interest directly, stating, "One that stands out to me, and hopefully I can put it together down the road, is I'd like to run a supercar, in particular in Adelaide. It's their finale, they have a sprint car track in the city as well, so I could do both." He added, "I would like to do that. There's been some conversations, we'll see where it goes." For right now, it's hard to look that far ahead. Indy is a big deal right now, and we're ingrained in the Cup season. A year earlier, Larson had expressed similar curiosity while acknowledging the scheduling conflict, saying, "I enjoy doing what I get to do. I would run the majority of the Cup schedule for sure. I guess there's other series in other countries maybe I could go run. Like a V8 supercar would be kind of cool, getting to do Bathurst would be neat. But there's just conflicts, there's not enough days in the year." Larson had been scheduled to make his supercar's debut as a wildcard entry with Premier Racing at the 2025 Adelaide Grand Final, alongside an appearance in the event's accompanying Sprint Car Speedway program, but in June 2025 he withdrew from the plan following a difficult attempt at completing both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in the same day, a stretch in which he crashed in both races. What these documented cases show is that the transfer of skill between NASCAR and supercars is not simple in either direction. The two disciplines demand fundamentally different techniques built through different forms of repetition. NASCAR rewards drafting instinct, patience in traffic, and controlled use of contact across 500 laps. Bathurst rewards a driver's ability to trust adverse camber, commit to blind corners, and execute manual heel and toe downshifts on a gradient where a locked rear wheel can end a season in a single instant. Elite talent in one discipline provides a foundation, but it does not automatically produce competitiveness in the other. A reality confirmed by drivers who have attempted the crossover in both directions rather than by speculation alone. The evidence sits in the results themselves, one driver who made the jump into NASCAR and won immediately, and others who expressed genuine interest in making the reverse journey but have yet to complete it under race conditions.